Hi everyone, today we're going to be learning how to do this journal, which is my new digital printable spellbook journal. As you can see, it has the Coptic binding. I'm going to be doing the tutorial in 4 parts. The first part's going to cover how to make the cover and how to cover it, and I'm doing it that way just so that when people are trying to refer to certain sections, they don't have to, fast forward through the video or anything. They can just go straight to that section. So the first section is going to cover the covers. The second section will cover the signatures inside. Whoops, I haven't stuck stuff in. The signatures inside and how to make these and assemble them. The third one is going to cover ephemera and how to finish them and techniques for them. And the fourth one is going to cover the Coptic stitching and how to put the whole thing together. What you do with the ephemera inside is completely up to you. Now this one I made with all 12 signatures that come included in the kit. It's a really nice big book and it's quite chunky, but I'm going to actually make 2 books using 6 signatures in each to make a thinner book. Just for variety and sizing, and you can also make the covers slightly bigger or slightly smaller, so it's completely up to you. Now I printed out for the 2 that I'm going to do. There's 4 options. No, there's more than 4 options of covers in the digital set. There's 4 colors. So there's blue, there's black, there's red, and there's green. So here's the back of the green, the front of the green, and here's the back and front of the red. The red one's actually editable, so you can change the text to say whatever you want. Then the black one, here's the front of the black one and the back of the black one. Now with this one, I've got 2 versions. I've got one that actually says Compendium Maleficarum, which is Latin for witch's book, and I've got one that's blank where you can fill in what you want yourself. This is actually one of the liners that comes in the kit for the covers, but you can actually use the papers if you want for the inside of the covers, or you can also use the unlined liner inserts, which are designed to, divider inserts, which are designed to line the dividers, which will actually, you can either line it with this or you can print it double-sided with this. So you've got a fair few options of what you can use. I've chosen to use the actual cover liner today. But actually, you know what? I might actually use the paper because it actually really looks cute, and I think it'll go really well with the red one in particular, to have that inside. I think that'll make it look really mysterious, so I might do that one today. Alright, so to get started, most of you will know that chipboard can be pretty expensive, or even not available. Like if you can't get chipboard or find it easily, then what I do is I go to the thrift shop, and for 50 cents I pick up a used hardcover book. Make sure that when you're choosing these, you don't choose one with a really thick hardcover. You want one that's fairly thin that you can trim down to make it whatever size you want to make it. Now make sure, of course, that you get one that's big enough to be able to fit your cover. So in this case, this one is definitely wide enough and it will do well that way, but it's a little bit too long, so I'm actually going to cut it down. But first I'm going to show you how it is that you get your chipboard cover from your secondhand book for 50 cents for both sides. So what I do is I got my trimming. This is actually a quilting cutting board or whatever, but it's self-healing, so it doesn't cut my table, which is what I want. I already cut this one out, which is the front of the book. I'm going to show you how to cut the back one out. So all I do is I use my craft knife, and where you can see where this join is in the book, see there? It's actually just held together by paper, really. It's a thickish sort of paper, and there's a few layers of it. So you have to press down pretty hard, but it's not terrible. So all I do is I score along that crease, and there you have it. And if there's any little rough ends like that, I just get the scissors and trim it. And I usually actually trim the edge anyway a little bit because no one cuts perfectly straight. And there's just a few little bits of paper on the edge there. So there we go. There's one cover. Now, like I said, so there's my book. I mean, I do sort of feel guilty doing this to a book, but this wasn't a very interesting book. All About Elk by Lipinski, Van Zwol, Jou, and Wiltz. I think I can do without that. So, now we've got both our covers, and we need to cut it down so that will actually fit this properly. Now, I'm doing this, I'm just eyeballing it. So when you look at it, like on the back like that, you see that there's enough room to turn over on the sides. And even I might take a little bit more off the side just because I think I'd like a little bit more. But there's really not that much to go over on the top and the bottom. So obviously you don't have to cut top and bottom, just one's fine. So what I use is my metal-edged ruler, metal ruler. You need to use a metal one because a plastic one you're just going to cut into. That's not going to provide the support. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, in this instance, I'm going to take off, how much? Probably, that's that edge. There. Probably about a ½ inch. Remember, you can always take off more, but you can't put it back on. So I'm going to do about ½ an inch and see where I'm off to from there. So I just line up my ruler, and again I score with the knife. Now, because this is a chipboard, you're going to have to go back and do this a couple of times. So I usually go and I do it on both sides as well. Now I might just stand up so that I can put more pressure on the knife. There we go. Please don't cut yourself doing this. It's easier to do than you would think. Now all I do is I put a little couple of knife marks so I know on the other side where I have to go. Okay, line those up and away we go. Okay, there we go. There's a little piece on this side that it's not quite cut through. Done. There we go. It's a nice straight edge. It's straight enough for what we want. And I think it's about the right size now. Now see, I should have probably done this edge because it's a little bit bent there on the corner, but who cares? All right, it'll just add to that aged antique look. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I definitely think I need to take a little bit more off the width of it. So I'm just going to take off the thinnest strip that I can. Like I said, you can always take it back off, but you can't put it back on. Now, I'm sorry, I currently don't have a computer, so I can't really edit this video. I apologize in advance for any interruptions from my little boy or any mistakes that I make, or, you know, I'm sure you probably don't need to see me cutting each and every little single slice, but I just can't edit this right now, and I'm trying to get this posted so people can do this, so bear with me. go. So that edge has been done too, and as you can see, it's pretty straight too. So I think that's going to make for a lot more comfortable edge. Now, because I'm making my book slightly smaller, all I'm doing is, you can see that there's like a frame within a frame. I'm just taking off the first frame by using that to fold over. And so that second frame that's in there, or actually there's like 4 frames. But that second frame will then become the new edge, if that makes sense. And I don't really care too much if I'm taking the edge off, because I'm just wanting to make it smaller. So I think that will be adequate. Now let me just check before I actually commit to the size. Let me just check that the liner is going to cover everything I want it to cover. And I think it will be close. Oh, hang on, I was using this one. I think it'll be close, but no, now I think it'll be perfect actually. So there we go. So all I use, it's probably a big no-no. I probably should be saying, oh, I use only Tim Holtz Super Cement. I don't know what they've got available, but I use Elmer's Craft Bond, which, you know, glue stick. The kids use it, right? How good could it be for scrapbooking? I've never had a problem. It glues paper to cardboard really well, as long as you work fast and you don't let it dry. So what I usually do is I score my edges so that I know exactly, well, I score them and fold them so I know exactly where I'm gluing. And that way there's no guesswork that's going to slow me down. So I'm going to use my Cricut and my, no, you know what? I normally score it that way, but I'm just gonna fold it today. There we go. So I'm just gonna line it up by eye with that border, and fold along the edge of the gold border. And now the other side. Alright. Now I even it up top and bottom because I got the sides worked out. Make sure that's even. Fold one end. Don't worry about the corners too much at this stage. We'll deal with those later. Fold bottom end. There we go. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to crease these folds a little bit better. Now I actually folded mine sort of crooked, and I did that on purpose because I wanted this gold edge to be hidden more on one side than the other, and that's because of the binding. But it's really just up to you what you want to do. Alright, there we go. That'll be good. All right, so for the corners, a lot of people cut that little corner piece out. There. I don't like to do that because then it exposes the edge and it can actually be a wear point. So what I do is I cut it diagonally, and I'll show you here in a second. Just like so. And I fold those bits over, and that sort of causes a bit of reinforcement, which makes it good for the book. So I'm just going to do that on all four corners. I can already tell because I'm rushing that I'm not doing this as perfectly as I probably should, but at least you guys are sort of seeing how it goes together. So, once that's done, I put the glue all over the hardcover because I find that just gives a better result, and it's easier to put glue on a hardcover than it is to rub it all over soft paper that wrinkles and crinkles and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So, I'm putting the glue all over this cover. And I'm not going to show you because I've run out of time real fast doing that, but basically then make sure it's the right way up and pop it in there. Be real quick about this step because it will dry really fast. Now you need to make sure you get the air bubbles out. See how they're bad? So I usually just smooth with my hands real fast. There we go. Great. There we go. And then I put the glue on the other side and I close in the edges, being sure to keep the folded bits folded. Now, with these little triangles that are folded in, what I do is on one side and one side only, I fold it again. See, so it leaves that gap. So one of them is just folded in half, and the other one is folded in half, and then in half again. And the reason I do that is to give that like nice mitered look. But like I said, I only do it on one of them. It's usually the leading corner, so like the top corner or the bottom corner. Go. Like that'll give you a slightly bulky edge, but it'll give you a nicer finish. And like I said, there's less likelihood of the cardstock, of the chipboard breaking through the paper at that point. There we go. All right, now for this stage, I actually put the glue on the paper because I don't like putting glue where I don't want it to stick, and it's very hard to judge how thick the edge is going to be. So I just roll it along the paper. Do your long edges first because they're the ones that don't have the mitered part. You want the miter on top. go. Pull it fairly firmly when you're wrapping it so that it leaves a nice crisp edge. Like wrapping a present, really, I guess. Here we go. Ta-da! And there's the inside. Now, this is the part we're going to put the liner over the top of. And to do that, all I'm going to do is cut this paper in half and cut the edges off. Probably more smart to cut the edges off first. More smart. Fantastic grammar. There we go. I should just say smarter. Alright, so once I've cut the white edges off, and cut it in half. Then you're just going to lay it over the top. See? And that will line it. And you're just going to glue that straight on. And you do the back exactly the same. And then you'll have two finished covers. Now, I don't put the binding holes, I don't put them in until right at the end when I'm ready to bind. And I use my crocodile for that. You really can't do it any other way, I'm afraid. So if you don't have a crocodile or some heavy duty punch, I don't know how you're going to do it. Maybe set in eyelets with an eyelet setter, but drill it. You could drill the holes in and then sort of sand them with a file or something like that. You could, yeah, drill it or eyelet set it, something like that. That will work. Or if you're using a different binding method, you could actually put paper in this like this, or cardstock, and then that would become the spine, and you would glue this to the inside of both and then to the inside of the spine, if that makes sense. And that would keep it all together, but it wouldn't be very strong, so you'd need to reinforce it. You'd need to reinforce the spine somehow, maybe with a piece of chipboard or something like that. You'd need a heavy duty glue to glue that, to glue those inserts in once you put the signatures together. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and that's our cover. Make the back one too, and I'll see you in the next section for how to put the dividers and their insides all together and prepare them. Thank you.